Okay. Don, we're on public input. 3 minutes. Sure.
Let me.
Awesome.
Hang on.
You know, these happy faces and cheerful places. Two things. One is request. It's great to look at these, and as a department head, I used to be able to get a hold of a packet that said everything that you guys look at. Is there any way that thing could be put online? Because you guys are making decisions off of letters we can't see. As a department head, I used to be able to see them. No, I don't. It's like the consent agenda. Oh, yeah, we approve it. What is it? Read out loud, it's not repeated. We don't even hear what it's about. That's one. The second thing is I see Blueberry Lane is listed here. Now, I was part of that when I was still on. And the question I have about this thing is whether or not this is going to become a warrant article, and whether it is, have we gone to Fish and Game to look if they'll put any funds into this as a boat ramp on the end of Blueberry Lane, and whether or not the ARM grant through can be used because of the erosion problems that are down at the end of that. And I don't think any tax money we can use on it because it's called a town right of way, and it's not necessarily a class 6 road or a class 5 road. Only a question mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Moving on. Ruth Arsenal, welcome to Alton Sign. Welcome to Alton Sign to somewhere around the Rotary. A good place might be near Yellow House. She ain't here, right?
She's not here.
Just. Stacy is. This is actually something that should be down further on the agenda under.
Yeah. Request.
Yes, yes.
Okay. 28 speed concerns, the new business. Yeah, come right up, sir. How are you?
More comfortable too.
Summarize, or I don't know. If you have-
Yeah, you can summarize what,
Okay.
I mean, I know there's nothing we can do on it because it's a state road.
Well, I'm here to help. Good evening. Thanks. Let me first introduce myself. I'm Bill Cass. I'm the Assistant Commissioner for DOT. With me is Mike O'Donnell. He's the Senior Traffic Operations Engineer, Bureau of Traffic for the DOT. So a brief bit of history. We had received some correspondence from some property owners along Route 28A in 2019 with concerns about, speed and speed control along Route 28A. I know I had responded to them with some ideas. You know, part of the concern is the traveling speed. It is a winding road. To some degree, it's, you know, with the cars that park there and just the geometry, it is somewhat self-policing. It's hard to go more than 30 miles an hour, more than 25 miles an hour, but the folks that live along the road would know that more. So we did look at the pedestrian signing, the warning signs and stuff had all been done. All the signing appears appropriate for the geometry that's out there. And the geometry, I was looking at the as-built plans, and I just have a copy of them here for reference. That section of road was built in 1929, and I think the alignment and stuff that's there hasn't changed much since 1929. I think that's why Route 28 was built up on the hill where it was in the 50s, because it is narrow, it is constrained. There's not a whole lot you can do with the geometry along that road and keep the character of it. So one thing that was asked about was about the speed limit. So the speed limit currently is 30 miles an hour. That is a state minimum majority of the time. So there are a couple of options in statute that would allow posting a speed limit less than the state minimum of 30 miles an hour. So the municipality, the governing municipality can petition the state either for a seasonal speed limit, and we have entertained that and worked with various communities. Newcastle, New Hampshire is one that they've asked for a seasonal speed limit through the narrow village area of Newcastle, for example. There's also in statute an option with evidence from the town, some sort of engineering or speed study, some speed study or engineering study that would, warrant a lower speed limit. That can be considered as well too. Typically, that is looked at in what we call urban compact areas. So like the downtown areas of state roads. So if, locally, if you drive through I think Tilton, downtown Tilton is 25 miles an hour. It's the village area. There's on-street parking there. They had petitioned the DOT to change that from, I think it was 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour through the village area. So this area along 28A doesn't really fit into like the business district or kind of a compact area, but we certainly could consider it. It's certainly with the town beach there. It does look to me like it constitutes somewhat of a village area, but that would have to come from the town for us to consider, and would have to be backed up with some sort of engineering or speed study. But that is something we could consider, whether it was seasonal or full time. If it was a full time, it would require more of a engineering study to support that. But that would come to the town from the town to the state. So that's a very brief synopsis. I don't know, Mike, you had some thoughts on some other pedestrian things that could be done or looked at, but a lot of them, because it's typically the pedestrian and crosswalk issues. We looked at whether a sidewalk or something with the pedestrian activity would be possible, but that would be a fairly big endeavor. But usually a lot of those local pedestrian crossing issues, we look to work closely with the town on those, because it is much more of a community type of.
Right. They would be had on that road with the corners that you've got.
Yeah, and I think we already had it on our radar screen to do some additional signing at the crosswalks by the town beach. If you want to.
Yeah, we have a statewide effort going on right now where we're evaluating every crosswalk statewide. And we have plans to begin upgrading the signage at the crosswalks. Basically, each crosswalk should end up with 2 warning signs, one on each end with downward pointing arrows. So it's kind of like a gateway type view of a crosswalk. I know some of yours already are like that, but down in that area that we're talking about on 28A, they're not like that. So that would be one thing. Another thing that the town can do, just with a request to my bureau, you can purchase those in-street signs that stand up on the center line. And sometimes when there's an object in the road, people will slow down. They don't want to scratch their car or anything. So that's one option. They would just have to be removed in the wintertime so we can plow. And then
that would be like if you ever drive through Meredith on the north side of the lake, right by I think it's Pleasant Street, which goes out to Meredith Neck. Right in that area of core, and they have the call them stand-up signs. They're like bollards in the center line or something like that.
I feel like I've even seen some in Alton.
Yeah,
We
use them down the bay and.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I came in from Guilford today, so I was pretty sure I went by some of them.
That would be fine right where the immediate beaches area, but if the road narrows down around as you do the
Right.
winding, it would never work, and it's not wide enough.
And there's no crosswalks further down.
Right, although there is a sign, it was probably purchased by someone, there is a sign that says a crosswalk. But I don't know,
I
you said you
see
went
some-
through and you evaluated everything, so there are some contradictory signs, especially starting on, Mr. Chairman, sorry, if I may, on the beginning of 28A, just before Dockside Restaurant, there's a sign right there, the first crosswalk sign says 900 feet, it's only 20 feet away.
Yeah,
That's the first one. Second one is that sign right behind that says 25 miles an hour. As soon as you get to the beach, it's 30.
I think the 25-mile-an-hour sign is an advisory speed.
Advisory.
It's a little plaque.
Yep,
And then the
it's an
regular.
advisory for the corner.
It's advisory
for the
for the
straight.
pedestrian
Pedestrian
activity in
activity.
the area. And that 900 feet, that's interesting that it's misinterpreted. I think the 900 feet is like for the next 900 feet because it's bracketed on the far side of the beach.
Okay.
So for that area, it's kind of a warning
Yeah.
that within that next 1,900 feet, 1,000 feet, there's
I think most
pedestrian
people don't
crossings.
understand that. And so,
That's a good point.
I
Yeah.
think most people just don't understand.
That might be why we're looking at.
People are looking at it and they're saying, and asking us, why does that have that 900 feet there when the crosswalk's right there?
Right.
And the next one's 200 feet away.
So that's part
So
of
what's the
the,
900 feet all about?
Mhm.
So there's questions in that, the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, it's contradicts itself.
Mhm.
But like you, I don't know if that's referring, it shows the sign 28A or East Side Drive with an arrow instead of straight. Little things like that. I mean, it looks like that's the corner, which in fact, that's Route 11.
Right.
So just little things like that, people are confused.
Mhm.
and as we start to improve our uniformity for pedestrian signing statewide, people drive from community to community and the signs will all look the same.
Mhm.
So that's the goal of the effort. We have, when towns have interest in a specific spot, we do try to advance our work. And in this particular case, where it says pedestrians 900 feet, we would probably change that. It would say pedestrians and it would say next 1 mile or whatever the distance is, we would measure it.
Mhm.
And then at every crosswalk, there would be the two down arrows.
Mhm.
We could also take a look and see if that 25-mile-an-hour is appropriate. My feeling is that it is for the advisory speed.
Yes.
We're basically saying due to pedestrians, you need to slow it down a little bit more.
Well, right, the confusing part is the 30-mile-an-hour sign is where the beach is. The 25-mile-an-hour sign is before you get there.
Yeah.
So they're doing 25, but then, oh, now I can go 30 in front of the beach.
And that,
Here's the confusing part.
yeah, people do see my wife didn't know until I explained to her that the yellow sign is just an advisory plaque.
Advisory.
It's not a speed limit
Right.
plaque.
Right.
So yeah, I can see why
See,
that would cause
the next, if
confusion.
you drive down and you
Yeah.
think about it when you're going through and you're, yeah.
And we
If
could
somebody that
even-
doesn't know, they're gonna question it.
We could even, I mean, another thing, this might be one that I jot down here. When you come into that area and you see pedestrians next mile, and then you go past the crosswalks and then you stop seeing crosswalks, maybe that's the place for more pedestrians, 25 miles an hour after you've seen the 30.
See, in my interpretation of that sign that you're talking about, the 900 foot is saying that for the next 900 feet, you could inquire pedestrians crossing the road.
But people aren't
But
taking it
people
that way.
aren't
They're
getting
not
it
taking
that
it.
way.
That's my point.
Right.
They're not taking it that way.
Anybody else?
I did want to mention one other idea that we came up with. I don't know how well it would work based on the geometry of the road. What we could get with our folks at the district office. If the town wanted to put out like the white delineator tubes like Meredith has down by their Hannaford supermarket, where the two lanes come together. If you were to put tubes, and this could be done a few different ways, like on the inside of curves, like if there's somebody trying to walk and they feel like the cars are crowding them, the tubes being there will kind of push the car more toward the yellow line. And then the other thing would be if somebody has like a house on one side and a dock on the other side, we can't do a crosswalk for every house, but if they put tubes you know, at the entrance to their dock and the entrance to go up to their house, if there were just 4 tubes, it might get people to slow down a bit to say, you know, what's that? I need to slow down. And I don't know how the town would want to manage that, if it would be people requesting them or if the town just did it for everybody. It's not something that the state does, but it is something we can allow, which is the case in Meredith. They put those out and then take them in.
Well,
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
I think I used to live on that road. I lived just south of Dan Kelly, or towards the center of town. Dan Kelly. I crossed the road numerous times. It is a problem. Now, that area has picked up in population, summer especially, or in the last 10 years that I know of from being here.
Mhm.
So it's turned into a problem. You know, people have realized it more. But that is, I don't know what the answers are. Because if you go down and look, that road isn't wide enough to put a sign. Some places you can't put signs up either. You know, you have your stone wall right at the
Right.
white line. There's no room on the other side. I've walked that road once from Bay Hill Road up to Dan Kelly. It was in the winter. I'd never walk it again. Taking your life in your hands. I think our police department has done a lot of work with speed control.
Yeah, that's
And
helped.
I come back from the dump a lot. I come down that
Too.
road. The landfill, excuse me, or the recycling. center. But I come
Transfer
down that
station.
road, and with that machine there, I'm following cars. And they're not speeding. They're doing, well, I say, they're doing about 30, 31, 32. And so I guess I don't think putting the speed limit down to 25 is a cure. Probably isn't gonna hurt anything.
It's not gonna hurt anything.
And anything you do out there is gonna hurt, believe me.
Because
That's a tough place.
after you get past Dan Kelly, it's not bad.
It's not as bad.
It's not as bad. It's just that congested area where you were living and in
Dan
front of
Kelly.
where we are at the town beach,
and it
looking
seems
down.
like
That's where it begins.
when you get up past Dan Kelly, it seems like the road widens a little bit too up through there.
It's less congested.
And it's
It's
not
less
a parking
congested.
issue.
Right.
That there is from Dan Kelly down. That's another issue. I don't know how that works, but boy, there's cars with the bumper out on the white line.
Mhm,
Trucks, pickup trucks.
mhm. Gets real tight down through there.
Yeah.
The tighter that it feels, the slower people tend to drive.
Right.
So having the parking on the side of the road is probably helping slow the speeds a little bit.
It could be.
Just like if there were a center line sign on a crosswalk or tubes along certain portions of the white line, that could also create a tighter feeling, more things for people to pay attention to and slow down. But the number on a sign is usually not something people put a whole lot of credence in when they're driving. They tend to drive the speed they feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And maybe over time, I don't know if it's the case here, but cars are being made to perform better and better, better suspension, better steering. And, now they even have cars where you just hold the steering wheel and it'll steer for you and stay between the lines.
I think people are looking for more of being heard and a little security of knowing that something is trying to be done, because there are blind roads coming out onto 28A, several, and blind driveways coming out, and you just look, you can see one way, there's a corner this way, and you just gun it. Hopefully you make it and somebody isn't flying around the corner. Some of them have a mirror where you can see oncoming traffic, some of them don't. The stone walls are an issue. I just drove the other day going to the transfer station, and there was a lady walking on the white line. The stone wall was to her right and a car was going around her. Thank God there was nobody coming around the other way, because he had to go over the line to get around it. And people just don't think. I mean, walking up against the wall and you have nowhere to go.
Right.
Right up his shoulder, right up against that. And it's just crazy. And I'm surprised nobody's been hit yet.
But what's the answer?
I don't know what the answer is. Slowing it down is at least a little bit in that 1 mile area to 25, I think would help.
You would need a letter from the town to change the speed limit.
Petition.
Petition, yeah, yeah.
And not a petition with a whole bunch of signatures, just something from the select
letter.
board. But then we would.
It would have
because
to
we're
be
going-
backed up with some sort of traffic study or something.
Right.
along those lines.
That's the thing. So they would have to go.
Is
out
that
and-
something that we could get from our police department? Like if they put this stuff up in, or is that something that we got to engineer?
It would usually be like the Regional Planning Commission. They would put an instrument out on a free-flowing section of road to see what the speeds are. If the speeds are shown to be below 30,
There's a start.
we can look at.
How long do you leave that out?
Usually few days anyway. So
We have our the new radar box that does the same thing. Counts the cars and the speeds and trucks.
Yeah,
That'd be good enough.
I'm not positive whether, maybe if we know which instrument it actually is, we can take a look.
Hang on, Ryan, step up here, please.
Happen to have that paperwork right here.
Thank you.
Talking about the new proposal, right?
I knew you did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What's going on later on is the.
We could get you a sample of
Not a radar.
Traffic, huh?
It's traffic.
yeah,
One of the covert.
but it may be helpful. I don't know if you have any engineering resources at the town to, also help augment the speed study with some other engineering analysis going through the narrowness, the geometry, all of those things that contribute
That would
to
work.
justifying a lower speed limit.
Yeah, one of the primary factors is, for that engineering study to support lowering the speed limit
Mhm.
is gonna have to show that the cars are going that slow.
Mhm.
So it's not like we just put the speed limit 10 miles an hour below what we want the cars to go. We actually set the speed limit based on the character of the road. And if people are driving lower, then that would show us that the speed limit is too high. So this is a good time of year to do a speed study with the number of parked cars and people out using the area.
Mhm.
Ask one question while you guys were talking, one of the question, where you speaking of the stone wall.
Mhm.
Shoulder there between a few of those blind corners.
Mhm.
And I'm just wondering, and again, I know this is probably a big endeavor. But would there be any possibility of trying to take the curse out of some of those corners on the opposite side? No, obviously not the lakeside, there's really no property there, but on the other side, just some of those stone walls have to be in right of way. I don't know. I mean,
Or they form the right of way. I have the plans here. It's probably a prescriptive right of way, just what's needed to maintain the road, so.
Okay. Well, I just know a lot of those stone walls.
Yeah.
There's some of them are newer, but most of them are old.
Yeah.
They've been there for probably 50, 60 years.
Mhm.
And some of them are actually deteriorating, the ones that haven't been built back up. I just didn't know, part of the biggest issue is those blind corners
Mhm.
and the turning within the road, blind corners for people trying to walk. And also for speed issues, even when you're not speeding, come around a corner at 20 miles an hour. Still too fast for the person who's trying to run across the road on the opposite
Sure,
side.
yeah.
And I know that, obviously that would be suggesting something that would make a lot of people upset if we were talking about taking a lot of people's property.
Right.
But on some of those corners, the way that the arc is, I think with a little bit of work and cooperation from the community, we might be able to do something, on just those really intrusive ones, to try to flatten it out and make it more of a contour on that road and about a little more line of sight. And also some of those walls are 30 feet high and not so much, even if you could cut them down to height or more manageable height, maybe. I don't know, again, I don't have the answer.
Yeah.
It's a matter of talking to the homeowner as well.
That's.
Talking to the homeowner as well and dealing, see what they have to say.
But if you look at the land across the street from most of those walls, that's where the pedestrians are walking now. So if you
A
take
lot of
much more of that, there's gonna be no room.
Yeah.
Another thing, there's a couple of those walls, they're actually leaning the wrong way. Notice.
Well, I know some of them are deteriorating.
Yeah.
They're gonna end up, and like I said, if you end up losing a wall there, and every once in a while, you never know. I mean, we got a car that could take out one of those walls.
Right.
But the thought of maybe looking at that ahead of time, that if it comes to a point in time that something needs to be done with those walls that are falling down, or we have an accident or something, that maybe we have a better replacement plan. Something that might help the design of the road.
Right.
So
Yeah, I know that's a lot of bigger proposal.
It is big. It is like I said, I said, it's an old road. It is to a lot of degrees. It is what it is. It's
You'll have people, by the time you get a slope back down to the road to where it's sensible to keep the material up there, you'll have people going, well, I don't have a yard as it is.
Right.
What happens when you take that wall out? Now I gotta slope that down to the road and now I lose 3/4 of my yard to.
That's why I said it
It's
would,
gonna be a,
it'd have to
there's
really,
not a lot of room there.
have to really talk to the homeowners on that one.
But if there's an issue with some of the homeowners where there's nothing vital on the other side of that wall, say a septic system, right?
Right.
But it's just yard backed up by
Step
a
it.
high wall,
Mhm.
it might be more beneficial to them, especially if they own property across the street, to say, okay, well, the plan is gonna be to cut that wall back 3 feet at a shoulder on the road and open up the line of sight better, or 4 feet, it might be more agreeable at something
Yeah.
like that.
Might be
They
agreeable
come up
to
with a-
step in them.
Yeah, come up with a plan and talk with them.
And then
Right,
I-
a lot of communication. Right.
Oh, yeah, that'd be a lot of
All right.
communication. Thank you.
The unintended consequence of an effort like that would be that if people can see further, they feel like they can drive faster.
That's right.
So,
That's
the point.
You
Yeah.
improve roads,
Yeah.
and look what we
Time to
did
go
on
faster.
28,
It might be Mike's suggestion about some delineators or something there, maybe a first start to see if there are areas in short corners or something where you could see if delineating out to 3 or 4 feet would help with that, or block off certain areas if there are certain corners and they should be on the other side of the street, not on the
Yeah.
inside. I don't know how much
Some of those corners.
the
you ain't got 3,
pedestrian
4
pan-
feet.
There's no
patterns
room
are.
there, yeah. My
There is no room.
fear would be you'd put something on the edge of that and it'd push them into the other lane and then you
Yeah.
have more access.
Yes, yes.
Stuff on that road, width
Right.
just doesn't.
And it can't handle it now, never mind. Yeah, so maybe that is out of the question, leave it the way it is, but try to analyze the speed and
Yeah.
seeing if there are people going through there 35 and 40, which there are some.
Rumble strips.
Yeah, so high operating speeds would suggest that the solution is a traffic
Narrow for
calming
that.
project.
Yes,
which would be
yeah.
Capital
Could
expense.
exist.
And then if the speeds come back lower than 30 miles an hour, that would suggest that the speed limit should be lowered.
Nice traffic circle right in front of the beach.
Okay. I
Well,
think-
we gave some ideas. What I'll do, I do have an email here. I'll forward it to you that has the RSA that talks about the statutory speed limits and the petition to lower it and stuff, just so you have it for reference and stuff. I'd leave it with you, but it's got some other notes on it. I owe you a response.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you
Roman.
very much.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully it was helpful and
Yeah.
like, we'll continue to work
Thanks.
with the owners in the town on.
Give
how
us
to
an
get-
idea on what we have to
Yeah,
do.
we know we got a problem. We just gotta figure out how to fix it.
Yeah,
There's no problem.
and
It's only
collaboratively,
solutions.
yes, that's
Only
what I would say
solutions.
too. It's not anything that the DOT can solve in and of itself without working
Right.
with the community, and I think vice versa, so,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Hampshire Boat Museum. Boat show during Old Home Week. Question.
this has been an annual event except for last year, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had any problems
Nope.
with it in the past, have we?
No.
I make a motion that we allow the Hampshire Boat Museum to put on their boat show at Alton Bay and take over. I think it's, what do they take? 6 of the finger dogs?
Yes. I believe it's 6.
and use those finger docks for their boats.
Yep.
Show,
From 8 to noon,
from 8 to noon.
8 AM till noon.
Oh, yeah.
A second. Yep. Brock. Oh, Brock, okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on. Annual oil and propane bid. Get those in here.
Believe, Mr. Chairman, we only got 2 bids again. Oh, are we doing it right?
I think what you'll, especially on the propane, what you might want to do is think about is do a 3-year contract with propane.
Yes.
Go to a different propane company, you're gonna have to, they're gonna come in, redo the propane tank, pull them in, pull them out. It's an expense to companies. They don't want to have to worry about doing that every year. My feeling on the bid price, they should have gone out earlier, only because I know there was lower prices that were locked in back in April, end of April versus now. Normally the contract pricing for most commercial businesses are done by the end of April for the following year. And it possibly could have led to almost a 30-cent less than reduction in price on propane. But I believe on propane, that's why you're not getting many bidders. Because one year we had Eastern, the next year you had Irving, everybody swapping tanks out. There's just an expense to that, especially if they're small usage of propanes.
Oh, no, I can agree with.
Yeah.
I'm with a multi-year, especially on propane. But still,
Just two. Says this bid's only good for 24 hours.
24 hours.
24 hours.
Says right on
Contract
it.
pricing officer.
Well, with the market price you got right now going on with the rack pricing, they can't do it any more than 24 hours. Just like anybody in the building trades business right now, contract will not give
I understand.
won't give anybody a bid for a week or 7 days. Chairman, I make a recommendation for propane 2021-22 season, Eastern Propane at $1.55 from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. And also improve C&M Brown for the oil. And I did not see a price though
I
for
didn't see a
C&M Brown.
price either.
T and Brown says fixed
This
is
is $1.55.
250.
But if you go up to CM Brown, oh, that's, yeah.
That was from last year's prices.
That must be.
Fixed
more.
price,
2021.
Oh, all right.
287. Oh,
That's K1.
that's K1. Oil fixed rate, 250.
251.
I have a motion.
That was my
Second,
motion.
Brock.
Oh, no, you made a motion.
Is it?
Yep.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, Alton Business Association, Old Home Week Parade Permit.
No issues from any of the departments.
Chairman, make a motion to approve the Alton Old Home Day Parade for the Alton Business Association. As long as all state permits and police department details can be worked out with the police chief.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I think we should, we're on town hall steps and front. I think we should look into getting those stairs out there and the bricks and the granite repointed before we start losing them. I think we need to go to the Clough Fund to get the money for it. We have the trust fund for this building, and I think we ought to do it before water keeps getting in there and separating those walls.
And it is,
Yeah.
it is.
We're gonna blow out them walls if we don't seal it up. I make a motion that we allow Liz to talk to the trustees of trust funds to get it set up and get it done.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Don't want to add to it.
Seconded that.
Ruben,
And how do you want me to do that? Do you want me to do that? Do you want me to pull grounds and maintenance into that? Do you
No,
want
I think that we
bid?
gotta-
Do you-
I think we
Because the
gotta,
trustees won't do that.
trustees of trust funds, that's where the money's coming from.
Right, they'll finance it, but
But
they're not gonna go out
I
and
think
get
we
it
have to have a
financed.
company that does the point, because we're gonna have to make a mess out of them bricks if we keep going the way we're going, and let them come in and seal the brick, because they gotta grind the brick out where it's bad and repoint them all and repoint the granite,
Seal the brick on the.
seal the brick and the granite,
water's getting behind, especially in the winter.
repoint them all. And then seal the granite going up and stuff, get it all sealed up so the water stays out of it, the ramp and the.
You need a good mason.
Yeah,
Are you,
just so
are
it
you,
doesn't.
are you looking for an RFP on that,
Water
Virgil?
coming into the building
What-
or in behind the walls, you'll see them bowed out.
Okay,
That's from the water.
all right. Work with Kelly and the Public Works Director.
Thank you. All right, moving on, old business, highway department, bay parking lot, brick sidewalks.
Scott. How you doing, Scott?
Good evening. You all have a copy of the memo that I put together, just to give you a little basic background as to what I preliminarily did some calculations here and gathered up a few different prices. I did not go out to multiple sources on this. Just wanted to try to find out what we were looking at relative to costing. And so I basically laid those out and put together three different scenarios for you, or options to look at, and looking for the board, direction from the board as to which ones you would like to maybe pursue or gather more information on or gather more pricing on relative to the
You don't think-
sidewalk.
You don't think we can take sections of that brick out? Repair it where it's bad, re-pound underneath it, reset them, flip them over if we have to. It's a good side to buy whatever we gotta buy, a few of them. But reset them where some of it's up and down, certain sections.
I think you can do anything you want. Once again, it's still going to cost you the same as I've indicated here as far as in costing in order to do that. I also think it's also labor intensive to do that, and it will be a constant maintenance problem for you in future years going forward. Although, of course, resetting the curb and setting the curb in properly and getting it grouted in so that it's not tipped like it is already right now. I think that if you go with something that's a more permanent solution, I think you'll have a longer term and less maintenance, and also have a lower risk aspect relative to having a surface that can be maintained and treated for that longevity. Right now, with utilizing the bricks, you have one brick that ends up breaking. You have somebody that gets off the Mount Washington and heads down to get an ice cream cone and wearing a pair of high heels and hooks into a broken brick that's missing. And next thing you know, you have a lawsuit. Now, granted, you can have any other kinds of things that can happen, but a concrete sidewalk will have less apt to have those situations as long as it's bedded properly and installed properly. You'd have less apt to have.
We've got over
more
20 years out of those, and we've done very little maintenance.
Mhm.
to 'em.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, it's been
Did that
30 years. It's been
revalve.
almost 30 years now. It's done in the
All right.
90s.
30 years. And that was part of the revitalization down there, was put in the red brick for the site and everything. I hate to lose
For aesthetics.
People,
the
people are used
aesthetics
to
of
it.
it.
So whatever the board wishes to
Granted-
do,
granted, it
I'm
keeps
just
getting
bringing
hit.
these,
Mhm.
bringing these to your attention as to
I think a lot of people
potentially
would be
what the cost is
disappointed.
going to be, and it is going to be labor intensive. I know, Mr. Roberts had indicated a solution that he had relative to when he was the highway manager as to how he would like to tackle it. Which was certainly a great idea. Although I can tell you that, you have advertised now for how many months relative to your staffing situations with town staffing, and you have been unable to secure and fill those positions. And based upon the maintenance of 90+ miles of road and also your facilities, I think that you're understaffed in order to undertake that within your own manpower in order to have that undertaken. So, but certainly if in fact we have staffing and additional staffing, certainly it could be a project that could certainly be looked at and done in phased increments that way. I can tell you that over 500 feet of that walkway is in need of repair, and it is a liability in moving forward. So some ways you either tackle the whole thing and minimize your liability, or you and look at your costs and try to weigh that out. And I understand the aesthetics 100%. My job is to present you with what I feel is the facts, and you make the determinations based upon your community.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
The last 3 days I've gone down and walked it. Because I've looked at this, read it online, what was presented to us. The worst part of that sidewalk is on the left-hand side of the outside of the parking lot where the granite is curved. Wouldn't take much to dig sections of it up at times, and it's going to be labor intensive. No more than cutting brush is labor intensive, no more than ditching is labor intensive. No more than putting white vinegar in a 2-gallon spray bottle and going down and spraying the weeds that are deteriorating the bricks because we're not keeping up with it. That doesn't take much labor. You put vinegar in there, solution with water, that kills the weeds. That kills the weeds from pushing up the brick. Sand is still sitting on the bricks from the winter time. They were never swept off. A couple of places there was over 2 inches of mud next to the granite curbing and the brick. Certain bricks have worn over the years where ice melts have been used in front of commercial businesses. Those can be dug up, replaced. They do that in cobblestone bricks down in Boston, St. Louis, Fulton, Missouri. They take the old bricks, they put it back down, they do it by hand. Yes, it's labor intensive. We got a full highway crew on last time I knew, which is their responsibility, maintaining sidewalks, not buildings and grounds. We can do road reconstruction with our highway crew. We can put up a new salt building with our highway crew, but for some reason, for over the last 5-6 years, we cannot fix a sidewalk. This is what I find comprehensible. So the best solution, I understand liability, tear it up and spend $40,000 for concrete. Problem with concrete, smooth sidewalks, you have more runoff going into the lake because it does not absorb the water such as the bricks do now. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that was the big thing. That's why we had to do impervious pavement on the other side of the road, because we had to absorb the water, not let it run down the road in the catch basins. I feel you'll still get another 20 years out of these bricks with a little maintenance. They're not that bad. There's just a few of them that have been broken, but that's called maintenance. We go back. To do the weeds that are down there now, it is going to be a job because it's gone for so long. Not just this year, it's gone for the last 3 years because it is not looked at. And you don't have to use pesticides or sprays or Roundups down there. You can just use white vinegar. I'm only bought at the grocery store. No license needed. So I appreciate everything he did there, how much it would cost to remove the highway department.
Definitely.
To go down there. I would like to see that on future projects, what it's going to cost to do road reconstruction, what it's going to cost to put up the salt shed for all the guys that are going to have to do that for 3 weeks. That would be nice to see that. And everyone's facing labor shortages. Nobody wants to come back to work. They're looking for better things. I can't understand why, because Alton offers such a package, a benefit package with the pay package. I think that's what we're not selling, because the state crews are still getting people and they have a less pay package than what we have. I think it's the way we sell our positions that we have. That's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
I have to agree. I think aesthetically, we want to maintain and keep the Old Bay look aesthetically as much as possible, When you start putting in more pavement, more concrete, whether it's got a broom finish on it or whatever, it's taking away. It's losing its charm. It's getting more of a concrete feel to it, steel, to that feel to it. We like to have the grass meet the bricks. Many areas, like Ruben mentioned, and if you don't know if you've ever been to Newport, Rhode Island, you go into Newport, all their roads are cobblestone, all cobblestone sidewalks. They maintain it beautifully and they take care of it. This is a sidewalk. And I have to agree, I've walked up and down it myself many times and over the last few days as well. And there's not that many areas I think that can't be taken care of, and slowly. And with our manpower that we have currently, I think it can be taken care of and maintained. But thank you very much for the work that you
Like
did
the way
on
it's
everything
laid out.
else.
So what you're suggesting is basically patch it.
To take up what needs to be taken up, whether 100 feet of it, and pick it up and repack it, reset, flip over if you need to, replace, and then set them back in and maintain it.
About
And it'll be a
28,000.
continual project. See, I like the aesthetics of the brick.
Mhm.
You can get that aesthetics with concrete. I don't know if you
It doesn't
ever
look
been
the
to
same.
Littleton, New Hampshire. They're crosswalks.
I've seen them.
They look like brick. You have to get out of your car and go over there.
Mhm.
They're not brick. It's kind of pricey, I
Yeah,
believe.
stamped concrete, yeah.
And
It's expensive.
but goes fixing them and maintain it. And I don't know what the maintenance is.
Well, They've been there 30 years or better.
Yeah, but they should have been worked on at
Just
least
main-
5 years ago that I can testify
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And they weren't.
We've been going at it.
You didn't have the traffic 30 years ago you have on them now either.
No.
I mean, everything's,
We've been talking about fixing it for 4 or 5
yeah,
years.
I'm not.
Been a
I'm
long
not-
time.
I'm not arguing, I'm just saying, you got 10 times the people that travel on them sidewalks right now than you did 30 years ago when them sidewalks were put in.
And with brick, I don't care how you put it in, you do have a problem with frost heaving,
Mhm.
moving.
Cracking.
Yeah, you know.
You're gonna
that's-
get cracks.
Let's face it, those have
So what
stayed,
I'm saying is, it's a high maintenance
Mhm.
item.
but those have stayed pretty good for 30 years.
No, it hasn't been. 5 years has been junk as far as I'm concerned. I've walked down there.
Not the whole. I wouldn't consider it junk.
shouldn't
I
say
wouldn't
junk.
consider it junk.
I should say it's been in dire need of repair for 5 years. That I know of.
I say we start doing it and start fixing it. And then we maintain it.
Well, yeah, we either do one or the other.
Oh, you got
And start putting it on a regular basis of maintenance.
about 28,000 in that sidewalk fund.
What kind of timeline, Scott, are you thinking it'll take to fix, to repair that? Do you have any idea whatsoever?
It's 5 days.
I actually, when we figured it, just kind of roughing it out as far as timeframe, we were talking about it's going to take pretty much our good weather season here in order to do the whole thing.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Are we is it gonna take away from the whole summer of doing actual road work to fix a couple of bricks in the bay that we can, I mean, and obviously everybody likes them.
Right.
But what's the time frame gonna be? You're gonna tie up a whole crew for the whole summer.
No, I mean, I was kind of looking at, the same.
Sounds like an
what
awful
Ken
long
had
time.
put together
I'm
was
just,
basically having somebody there, bringing a mini excavator in,
Yep.
along with at least having 2 other staffers there.
Three men on it.
So you basically, I calculated this based on 3 men.
Okay.
In the mini, and being able to go through the bricks, sort them, figure out which ones would be able to be reused, resetting the curb by either I had figured this was by contractor price. There for Tri-City Curb to come in and reset the curb. And this was to reset all the bricks. I believe they've calculated it out. It was about 12 weeks worth of work overall to do the whole place. That was walkways, everything that goes, leads down.
From Moran's all the way to the community center.
It also
Yeah.
seems though
It
like you've
ended
got
right,
kind
right
of a-
before right at the bench there at the end, before you went into the community center, little park. It ended right there. That's 560 some odd feet.
And it kind of seems like you got sort of a time constraint there too, because that bay's busy.
Right.
Oh, yeah, tear that sidewalk up when
That
there's
has to be
a
done
bunch of people
early,
down there.
early
You got-
spring, early spring and late fall.
So
And I
much in the
think,
fall, so much in the spring.
Right.
and it can be done in phases.
You wouldn't have to do all that.
No.
The worst part, it's not even that bad now, is right next to the granite curbing.
Mhm.
Sections that could be done, you don't even have to tear up the whole thing.
But,
You have to tear up, maybe
Go into about a foot.
2 rows, maybe 3 rows of brick.
Mhm.
You go to Gilbert Block, you go to Barron Brothers, you buy the brick, you come back, you put it down. So you plan on doing certain sections.
You do it in sections for sure.
You can't rip up that whole thing. No, you couldn't, because then you might as well pour concrete if you're gonna do it, but you don't need to rip up the whole section. There's certain bricks that have been broken out, or the face is gone. You dig them out, you put a new one, and you pack it down. I mean,
50 feet
I've
at
done
a
it
time.
myself years ago. I've laid curbing too. There's curbing I laid in the bay that's still sitting there 20 some odd years later. But this curbing, I don't believe is gonna move much more over the years. I think it's done moving where it's moved to. It hasn't settled any more than it has in the last 5 years. So to me, I don't know, to me, as a person used to do landscaping, also running a business, looking at cost numbers, easiest solution is you put a couple of guys down there and you start doing it, and you don't need an excavator. You just start popping them up and putting them back in by hand, having the stone dust there, and putting it back down and using polymeric sand, putting it back on them, close off a section.
What I think we
When you
should,
start doing sections, you might not get it all done.
that's why
in
I'm
a year.
saying sections too. And I think I think the selectmen should go with you and go down there and look at the worst sections and areas to do first. And take it in sections like that, whether it's a 50-foot section, a 75-foot section of the worst area, and do that area and move up. And do it in sections when it's starting with the worst to the least.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with Mr. Wentworth. I think the worst areas are adjacent to the curbing itself.
Mhm.
And the curbing, until it is actually set properly, I think it's going to continue to have movement. Now you get water that's getting in behind it. And even if you try to bring in, it's not square any longer, so you can't bring in a square edge to that curbing. So, if you end up taking sections at a time, pulling the curbing and then resetting the curbing, and getting that done properly as far as putting it in, footing it in, and then you can, like he said, I mean, I agree with him. It's that, probably 3 feet, or 2.5
2
feet.
feet to a
It
foot and a half.
is in fact the worst. There's no doubt. That's where that separation's been,
Mhm.
because the curbing is tipped. And now everything is migrating and working itself in there. Water gets in there, freezes and thaws. That's where you're gonna have that infiltration. I think, if it's been there for 30 years, it's done fairly well. Just like when you walk down any of these other city streets that you spoke to, it is what it is. It's a brick walkway, and it's a cobblestone road or whatever it may be. And, it's just understanding that, that it is going to be labor intensive. That's all I'm going to say. And when people are critical and they call up and want to know why something else isn't being done, then I just want the board to understand that this,
Well,
if it's
it
a
also
priority.
doesn't have to be done all at once.
No, I'm just saying that, it goes into the work plan. When it goes into the work plan, then you dedicate people to take care of that and to make that
And
happen.
and you're saying that you can pull out 3 feet of it and put it back in, but that's like a puzzle. You start pulling that apart. If you don't pull the whole thing out and you're trying to put that back together, you can't just pull 3 feet of that out. You're gonna have to work, there's gonna be a section, because it's moved. And I'm not saying that I don't want the bricks there, because I think they look good. But I think, like you said, I think you're tying up a lot of time for something that we could do with stamped concrete or something like that, that you could save down the road and still have the same aesthetics with the look of it anyway, you know what I mean? And I think the maintenance end of it is a little, I think that you'd save money as a whole with the maintenance end of that is trying to go down there every year with 3 guys for 3 weeks and pull bricks out and flip them over and put them back in and flip them and over, but you guys have been here for a long time, so that's you guys' thing. I'm just putting my 2 cents in.
There's two things.
We appreciate it.
Patch or replace.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the board's wishes? Do you want to put it on a warrant article?
Well, if we replace, yeah,
It has to,
definitely,
it has to go on a warrant
Let
article.
definitely that would have to be.
It would have to,
Yeah, that's gonna be expensive.
replaced,
me put it on a warrant article and
but repaired is different.
Comes out of the sidewalk. That'd be coming out of the sidewalk fund, repairs.
repairs, yeah, you got about 28,000 in the base.
That's where
sidewalk
that
fund,
would come from.
which ain't a lot of money.
No,
No, it's not.
Well, you got the 2 sidewalk refunds. One is limited though to a certain area, correct?
One's the bay,
Yeah.
one's the town.
yeah.
Well, I don't think,
Yeah.
I don't think the second one that has the 20,000 ever said it had to be done just for Main Street or downtown. There was money set aside one time for the base sidewalks, and that was to be used only for base sidewalks, but the general overall sidewalk fund can be used for the Bay Area.
But we have sidewalk fund, capital reserve, highway, town of Alton sidewalk fund, and where's the other one? Sidewalk funds.
You got $17,258 in sidewalk fund, capital reserve fund, highway, $20,394 in town of Alton sidewalk funds.
Yeah, then I got
Seems like 2 different funds,
520
right?
Where's your other one?
on the back page. Fourth one up. Above bank balance.
I believe that one was from your base sidewalk.
Well, I know when we wrote them, we had one for the bay, one for the town, when we wrote those for the warrant articles.
And this one says the
Separated them out.
sidewalk, capital reserve for highway, the 17.
I think you need a whole project to look at down there because walking on the community center boards the last 3 days too, you got rotten boards in there. So if you got a woman with heels on coming off worried about brick, you better start worrying about your boards. Because there's a couple of boards down that are rotted halfway through. So I think that the board, maybe if they're gonna go in the direction of replacing those, they ought to start thinking about maybe replacing deck boards too. Because that's labor intensive and I don't think you have the crew to do that
Who are you referring to?
down the community center on the
That's what we
backside.
talked about in the past, to redo those boards, if you remember last year. To redo those, the railings, and to work on that, yeah.
The decking right now is getting in terrible shape because it has not been
Yeah.
treated for the last few years.
Not much has been said or done, we brought that up last year. As far as the decking over there, it's only deteriorated worse since then.
Right, what, you want it on the agenda?
Like to have an agenda of
Agenda.
doing, possibly putting a package together. The majority of the boys gonna go thinking about tearing up the pavers. Then
Okay.
if you're gonna do that, you might as well put a whole package out together and see if there's some grant money for it.
That list.
'Cause that was all done with grant money.
Agenda item
Was it?
for the
So your
boardwalk.
community center and boardwalk.
Town of Alton got a revitalization grant back in the 90s to do 90% of that work down there.
Hopefully we can get another one.
And and the town of Alton raised money also to go towards it. Not through taxes, but through donations.
Okay. So the board, we'll put it on the agenda to make a package deal.
Yes, that's,
Okay,
I agree.
moving on, municipal trail parking area. This one I got a little problem. Be on conservation. We helped them do the parking lot. This was a conservation project, and this should still be on conservation, not on the town.
So that's part of the municipal trail system.
This is,
And that's falls under.
this was put in by conservation. They came in front of us and asked if Kenny could dump dirt up in that drive, up in the parking area up there, and we said, yeah, Kenny could go in and help them. This is a conservation trail system, it's, and I know that forestry owns it and everything else, but this should be a conservation project, not the town. We should not be putting our tax dollars into that. Something that conservation started. Just like we wouldn't pay for the street light, because we weren't gonna put a street light up there for private property. And conservation went and put a street light up there. This is their project and they should be doing this, not us.
When will you be ditching up there?
But we're on Alton Mountain Road now, and I would propose that we would go up there right off and get it squared away and be done with it. Put it to bed,
How much time are you thinking?
8 hours.
And taking out some of the material and using what you take out, ditching, using it.
Right,
Without hauling any more up.
right. Utilize what's on the roadway right there and that up. Going up the dirt section there of Alton Mountain Road
8 hours excavator time.
from the class 5 section, and cleaning that up and taking the rocks that are there, and they would be utilized on the toe of the slope there in order to finish putting the last few loads of fill in there that are needed to finish the parking lot. It's not a lot, but it wasn't completed from before.
You're on a class 5 road?
So class 5 coming up all the way till you get to Mr. Delinus's.
Gillies.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Gillies.
Julius, I'm sorry.
So 8 hours of excavator time and a
As long as we're not-
10-wheeler.
As long as we're not doing private property or class 6.
Well, no, it is a class 5 road. We're going off the class 5 road where the parking area we put in a year ago on private property on the trailhead.
That was conservation.
I believe we're talking about the same area, correct? You're going off town property. You're going into private property. You're going into a trailhead that the town gave us permission to do last year, 2 years ago, if I remember right.
It's part of the municipal trail system.
Trail system. So the folks at town meeting gave us permission to open that up,
Maintain it.
maintain it. So now you're off town property. You're on a class 6 or a private road, basically, but you're on.
I'd like to read that where it says we maintain it. That wasn't part of the deal. I argued about the street and everything else, and that would have been part of maintenance, just lighting it up.
So the street light is separate. That's a totally separate issue. And you are correct about that. The Conservation Commission, the selectmen approved it as long as the Conservation Commission would pay for it.
And maintain it.
And they got a nonprofit organization to pay for it each month, apparently.
Can we dig out the,
Municipal trail system.
no, I want the warrant article when we voted on how it's written.
Yes, the 2 warrant articles for the municipal trail system. Yep.
Okay.
You want to postpone this one before you make a
I would
comment on
like
it?
to.
Do you see the warrant articles?
I'd like to postpone it until we see how the warrant articles are written.
Okay.
Make a motion, we table it, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second, yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, bid award for plow equipment for 2020 Dodge and 2021 Dodge.
Bids that were received, they were opened in public here in the meeting room. Really, one bidder did not follow the bid guidelines, as you can see. And one company did follow the guidelines and actually visited and reviewed the vehicles. And the recommendation is to go with a complete bid package, which was provided by Viking Chives.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes.
Scott, I have no problem with awarding something. I see no breakdowns with the plow, with the dump body, with sander would be. The other thing is recommendations based on the review. I'd recommend that the bid award the Size Corporation goes to Maine for the purchase installation of the equipment as specified. Item A, 2020 Dodge 5500, 19,500 GVW 4x4, 6.7 diesel with dump body, excluding items 1, 2A and attachment A. I don't know what attachment A is.
Attachment A is on the bid package for the specifications. So I can give you a copy.
And
of
then
that,
item B, same thing. It says excluding items 1 through 23 on attachment A. And that's
including.
50,000. The other one's 40,000. So I'm trying to break down plow, dump body, sander or other parts of it and trying to see where the difference is coming in.
Right, so the, I can give you a copy of the list here, actually. I think in your package, you should have, or maybe it didn't get
Not in
copied.
this one. No, sir.
No.
You don't
we
have any
it.
attachment A?
Nothing there.
We don't have any decent one-ton bodies.
I don't have any decent one-ton bodies?
Yeah.
There is a one-ton body already on the 2020.
Right.
So that is what the exclusion item is that there is, they did not have to bid a body and hoist for that. And they did not have to bid a spindle plate and receiver hitch for that. That is what is excluded from that bid itself. And I do have a copy of the,
So I guess one of my questions is what are we buying for that, say, on the 40,000, 15?
you're buying,
What are we getting for that 40? I guess that's not what's showing me in this recommendation.
you're buying everything as far as a front plow hitch and also front wing, post mount patrol wing will come with that as well. Central hydraulics, and you will also have a hydraulic sander that will be with that. And all controls, sander controls and valve controls to control all those items. You will not be purchasing on the 2020 a dump body because that is already
Already on there. Yep.
on the truck along with a spindle hitch and trailer hitch as well. On the 2021, it is a complete package with hoist and dump body.
That's the
Hoist-
10 grand difference.
Hoist and dump body.
Yep.
Plus the wing, plus the head plow, all the hydraulics
All the
to run
central
it.
hydraulics, all the valve controls as well, hydraulic sander as well with that, and poly fender flare, fender, both actually are on both of those.
So by the time we're all said and done, both 1-ton trucks are gonna be over $100,000 by the time we pick them up, buy them, outfit them, everything else.
Yeah, they'll be high 90s.
And this without any sanders in the back of them though, correct?
No, they'll have
They'll
sanders,
have sanders too.
stainless steel hydraulic sanders. Yep. That works out to be, I think it works out to be about $99,000. If, you factor in what you paid for the 2020 cabin chassis and that we had the dump body as well. And we'll be shifting that plow over that was on that over to a different vehicle. Yeah.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I just have one question, Scott. How many vendors are around now? This type of equipment? I've been out of the business for a few years.
Yeah, so we sent that out, I believe, to 4 different body vendors. Went to HB Fairfields, Bike and Chives, Donovan's. I believe there was one other one in Vermont.
Tenco.
Tenco
Tenco.
in Vermont. So those are actually sent out as solicitations and then of course posted. I mean, basically in my history of doing this, I've, maybe seen 2. Sometimes we get 3, depending on.
Those are your 4 big ones right there.
Yeah,
But you only got really one bid because one didn't even, didn't even qualify
Right,
at
down
all.
to 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the board's wishes.
Approval of the recommendation from the Public Works Director. Award the bid package to Size Corporation doing business as Viking Size of Lewiston, Maine. The purchase installation equipment is specified in the bid amounts. Item A, 2020 Dodge 5500 diesel with dump body excluding items 1 through 10 on attachment A, and item B, 2021 Dodge 5500 19,500 GVWs 4x4 6.7 diesel cab and chassis. 44.5 inches. Excluding items 1 through 23 and attachment A,
Including.
including
Yeah.
attachments 1 through 23 and attachment A. 50,650 for a total award package of $90,665 and delivery within 120 days from notice of award.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
Yes.
Moving on. Blueberry Lane repairs. I got a question. Who pays the damages or the fines or anything, the violations? State,
So
anybody, wetlands?
So there are no fines because of this agreement that was made between the property owner and the town with the DES's support.
Chairman, I have no problem with it as long as we can you get the amount of $5,200 as long as the project to be requested via an application to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. If we do get approved for that, that we at least use the money before the deadline approaches and we lose it. I think that happened to us on a grant this year. We lost it.
Yeah, I think the deadline to apply is August 12th or something, 26th or, it's some time. It's supposed to have been done last year and we could not do it because of the state of
As a
emergency.
state emergency.
And that's one of the criteria for the American Rescue Plan Act, reimbursement. That were supposed to have been done during the state of emergency and were not, would not.
Plus, before we start any work, we got to get permission to do the work. So.
Question,
Permit then.
question, because I see an agreement. Agreement signed by Julius, Mary Lou Baker, and you.
Yes, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Have it at your desk, Mr. Chairman.
Right, which I was going to bring that up under TA report, not for this, but for something else in regards to those minutes.
Okay.
So we're just doing the 5,200? Is that what I'm understanding? Scott?
Yeah, we need to do the, all the permitting in order for the work to be instituted.
Right.
So we'll need to have, all the wetlands done and approved by DES in order to redirect and correct the rerouting of
Brook
the
up
stream
there.
and the brook. To have that happen and then look at the right of way has been totally obliterated up there. I mean, there's a crater, I bet you 6 feet deep.
Wow.
It's been caused by the erosion.
Haven't been up there in a
It's
while.
terrible.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Pricing in that part of it too, so people can use that.
That was, from what I understand, that had been the previous discussion was to, when these things are corrected and that is removed, that culvert would be removed. From what I understand is that then that would be reestablished and made, so that would be an access to
Put a
the,
sign up there or something, town of Alton.
to the hall.
You probably
pond.
remember a few years ago from the discussions that the selectmen had about in the future, once the repairs were made and all of the wrongs were made right for DES, to look at that for other uses in the future.
So I make a motion, we allow Given to put in for the 5,200. To allow the
For Stony Ridge.
project to move forward, huh?
For Stony Ridge.
Approve as recommended.
Yeah,
As recommended.
well, as recommended, yeah.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Police Department, that track data collector.
Thank you.
Why not?
You're not getting out so
Just in
easy.
case it gets rough.
Your shoulders aren't big.
Hey, I'm the guy that's spending the money in town. I might as well be right here.
There you go. We're getting out, see, tied into this, I got a better chance of.
Oh, it improved everything. Carried away there.
So with all these recent discussions, you'll see, I'm sure you're taking a look at my memo, but with all the discussions that we've had over problem areas in town, Stockbridge Corner, Powder Mill, Bay Hill, 28A tonight again. Scott had been looking for his purposes, the more of a covert data collector to serve the purpose of providing real-time statistics without the warning device. See, our radar trail is a big flashing warning device that
Right.
doesn't
Doesn't
get
record.
accurate counts all the time because people start flashing other people because there's a radar sign up there. And the data is complete, it's just not 100%. Where when you put a covert data collector on, you get all that same information and more. Based on the statistics, it provides a little bit more comprehensive information. It's the type of traffic and what we're dealing with. So it serves dual purposes for public works, grant proposals, the board's decisions. It really made sense when we started having the discussion. We were trying to find sources of funding for it. As you can see, the best quote that Scott was able to receive on this kind of particular specialty item was the 2820. I did get a secondary quote that was after I wrote the memo. I sent this, you guys should have it on there. And that was up over $4,000 for the same piece of equipment. We were not able to find a third vendor to compare quotes, but based on the information we have already and 2020 and the conversations about what we're dealing with the increase. I think we can all agree that we had a natural increase in our population during the summertime anyways. But then you had the state of emergency and COVID-19 with all the promotion of outdoor activities between hiking, the recreation area on the lakes and stuff. This is where we're coming up with a lot of our volume problems, volume related problems. So it definitely ties into the component of emergency management in that sense. And also the preparedness for any future issues portion of that. So what I'd like the board's permission is to be able to move forward with the purchase out of the emergency management funds that we have available. We do have funds available, especially now that we know, we're back to normal as far as staffing goes and things like that. We're not paying for the additional greater position, and also a lot of our other additional expenses have ceased at this point.
I make a motion to grant the chief to purchase a stat track data collector for the sum of $2,820 for all traffic solutions and emergency management out of the emergency management fund.
Second. Discussion.
Question. Police department's gonna own this, or is Public Works?
Public Works.
Public Works will own it?
Public Works will own it. We'll share it when.
Yeah, I understand.
But the installation of it is more suited to it. I really don't know how to have a cop look at, Paul Track.
Why not?
I'll leave it up to them.
That would look
Yeah.
like,
Why not?
They're not very agile.
Well, no time.
Really?
Don't you have to?
That's not good to hear.
You younger guys will disagree with me.
Yeah.
Maybe I was just speaking for myself.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Police
Told you,
department,
if you stayed
traffic,
up here, it'd be easy.
traffic.
Make them laugh.
Well, as long as he's gonna own it.
That's right.
Right. He had to stay up here.
Ryan, don't go far.
Oh, am I going?
Traffic safety device.
Oh, crosswalks.
Yes.
Oh, Shipley's Ice Cream Stand crosswalks is next.
Oh, that one's next?
Yeah, we're on traffic safety device.
Yes, that's just those, that was the
Oh, that's the same one.
rapid flashing beacons for the crosswalks.
Mhm.
Remember I said my original proposal, you guys approved me to go ahead and move
Right.
the purchase.
Yes.
But I had given you a list of crosswalks and I think we wanted some time to take a look at those and see if there was any more feedback from you folks as to crosswalk locations.
Listed right here now.
You have them all listed, yeah.
Yep.
And not to interrupt you, but just to add while you're considering this, I was able to, so Mr. McDonald, the gentleman that was sitting with Assistant Director Cast up here from DOT,
Michael,
O'Donnell.
O'Donnell.
I think it was O'Donnell. Yes, I met him for the first time face to face. We've actually been talking on email for several months now, and I didn't know that was him. So we met for the first time down there. He's actually the one that's in charge of approving all of these devices, the crosswalks. Yeah, that's why he was talking to you about crosswalk safety and everything. He handles all that. So we had an in-depth conversation about our project in particular, and he did say to me that their recommendation, and they said they're having a problem in Wolfboro right now, is that you either convert all to one or not, because what they had is they have crosswalk devices in certain crosswalks and they skipped them. So then people walk to certain crosswalks, get used to pushing a button, everybody stops for the flashing lights because it gets their attention. And then later on, other people are walking to the non-marked devices, just a regular painted crosswalk, and they're walking right onto the traffic because they're expecting the traffic to stop again without any device. The reason I mention this for us is because there's a few crosswalks that aren't on here, not many. I think there's 3 total. But if you folks decided that it was better for us to if we're going to go this way, to go all the way and do every single one, they were in support of that as well. And then he said, because I left those crosswalks off because I was concerned about line of sight issues of being able to get approval. He said he would come out at the beginning of August and we're going to drive those locations. And he said he would try to help me figure out a way to make that work if we wanted to do those, say, next year and get them all up. I'm just saying that opportunities are out there in case we approve these and we feel that, hey, these other 2 or 3 crosswalks should happen too. We can work towards that, making that happen.
And you felt as though that in front of Shibley's was not adequate distance for sight of view to have a device there. Is that correct?
Correct. That was part of that was part of my recommendation for that one. But see, there's no sidewalk there right
No, there isn't.
now. Yeah, because DOT took it away because they didn't think there was enough line of sight for the traffic. That's why they moved it down. Because what it is when you look at it on face value, you stand at the corner, it's close, not that bad. But then you have somebody cross it and you get 2 cars backed up. Now all of a sudden it's shortened that 150 or 200 feet, just shortened up to 75 feet because you got 2 or 3 cars back to back waiting. And then somebody comes around the corner and doesn't have enough time to stop before it rear ends that 3rd car in line. That becomes the issue. That was what we've had on busy weekends, a lot of rear end accidents with that crosswalk. And that also, when the patrons would end up extending the line out into the crosswalk, that was creating fender benders too, because again, people were stopping thinking they were crossing the crosswalk and they weren't. They were just waiting in line for ice cream.
Right.
And it created that whole uncertainty, like stop and go.
It's a bad spot.
A motion to allow department to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11 crosswalks that he's got listed here. Board want me to read them out?
Right around record.
I see 10.
11.
There's 11.
Pops. I'm sorry. Yep. I skipped over
It was actually
Bob's.
a 12th one, just to remind you,
Mhm.
but that was approved separately because that was a donation.
Yeah.
We did, but that's the crosswalk just past Pops where the dock
Mount
is
Walk.
for the.
For the Mount Walk.
Conference Center dock,
Oh,
all that
yeah.
stuff, By the police department boat.
Yeah, where they water ski and stuff.
Yes.
Yep.
That one was the donation.
That was the donation location.
All of the equipment. And I have that still. That's actually here in our Sally Port. permit.
Right, I remember
We're
you
just
saying
waiting
that.
For the, we had to get shoreline permits for all the sonotubes for those.
Mhm.
So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, we didn't realize it until we were just getting ready to start. We had marked out the water line and we were gonna put the speed sign up.
Mhm.
'Cause we had the speed sign for that 30-mile-an-hour sign too. And we were gonna put the 18-inch sonotube in. And that's when we turned on. And went, oh, I guess we need a shoreline protection permit.
Mhm, mhm.
Right.
We were gonna be all set, just replacing a post in kind, but yeah, the sonotube, I guess, is a little more invasive.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
All right, we already did the Shipley's one, right? Why did we put it there?
I don't have any more questions. I understand why now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And actually,
Why I mentioned
the
it.
Shipley came out to talk to us while we were doing our sidewalk. Nice conversation. Scott was out there, the fire chief was with us and kind of explained what our thoughts were at that point too. I don't know if she was gonna come back and talk some more, but kind of explained.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank
You're
you.
Free to go. All right, Selectmen's reports. Bob,
I just have one little thing I'll bring up. Harmony Park, the stain on the wall, on the interior. I believe that was caused by the water sprinkler last year.
Last year.
And I guess there was rust in the line. It really
Needs to be cleaned.
easy. I just wonder if we had any plans. Town administrator might look into getting that squared away. I
Acid
think it
wash
can
it,
be
clean it.
removed.
So would you describe again the location of that? Because I'm trying to picture it in my mind.
Well, just go look at Harmony Park from the street and you can't miss it.
Okay, is it a wooden thing?
No,
No,
it's on the
wall,
side of the
brick wall
blocks, on
that
the
we laid.
inside of the wall.
Okay. You familiar with that, Kelly? That's your part.
how many pack the stain on the wall?
I can speak to you.
Yeah,
You haven't been
yeah,
up
it's
yet.
on the inside,
Might as well give everybody a chance.
right in front of the picnic table. See it.
Paint the wall brown.
So yes, you are correct that the stain was from the water
Mhm.
and we're looking into ways to clean that off. So I'm going to be in touch with Michi Corps. We were looking online, but there is concern with the lake and what kind of products to use. And we also want to be mindful not to damage the grass that was planted, which is why it was watered. So we're looking at doing that. It's something that we're currently looking into researching for, but we want to do it correctly.
It's been there all this time, and it looked like it actually got a little darker.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank
Won't
you.
get much better.
No, no,
It won't go away.
thank you. Kelly.
Is that it, Bob? Yep. Ruben,
No, sir.
Rob,
Oh,
all,
not at this time.
I won the conservation people, we were discussing it, they're gonna come down, the people that used to watch the boat ramp for invasive plants and stuff. Gonna come down in August and give us this wash plant that sits right outside your boat launches to wash the boats and stuff. They're gonna give us a demonstration with it and explain what it does and everything. Because we've been paying them every year. And they haven't been sending the people down, so we have a meeting with them August 12th, I think it is.
It is the 12th.
And I've been noticing Fish and Game is checking boats when they pull in there.
Oh,
They
yeah.
sit there every morning and watch.
I see.
See
I
them
see
every
'em every
morning.
morning.
When we go through with the.
I
well,
look,
they sit
I look
there.
right there down there, they've been there every day.
New Hampshire Lakes, you send somebody down to sit at our boat ramp,
Yep.
and they just stopped doing it. They
Lake
have them in
Host.
Meredith, they have them in a few other towns, but they stopped sending them down here. So they're coming down to explain it and explain this new wash system and stuff. That's it on my report.
What was the date again?
August 12th.
August 12th.
Yes.
I have two things. The first, I'd like to ask the board permission to have the Public Works Director come up to the table in regard to a previous approval that the board gave on a pickup truck.
We say no.
Thank you, Scott. Turn it over to you.
So I spoke with the town administrator in regards to getting some clarification. We did have a little bit of a wrinkle relative to the purchase with.
Oh, you already have it.
I
It
got it.
says TA
We
report.
already got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll take.
Oh.
Case.
So a little bit of a wrinkle because initially we were under the understanding that we would not have to pay the first year's payment for the lease on the water department new 550 that we were purchasing. And when we got the paperwork from the Ford leasing lease purchase, they indicated that they needed to have the first year's payment. So with that in mind, and based on what had been previously approved by the board, and also in speaking with both Parks and Rec Director Kelly and also with Courtney, needed to come back to the board and have an understanding as to how you would like to have it funded, because we initially had looked at a couple different scenarios as to how this would transpire based upon the purchase and also the lease amounts that were approved on the 7th. With this different situation, it gives what I can see as two different options. The board may have others that I'm unaware of, but I put these different options out as to how you would like to fund to finish the transaction, so the finance department can complete the transactions to put the final touches on delivery of the vehicle.
Not to me.
So my understanding was from that last meeting, the Parks and Recs is going to pay $40,000 to the water department for the 2021 for their truck, correct?
Yeah, for the water departments.
So 21,000 that is going to be as the payoff price, correct?
Yeah, the payoff is 22,736.50.
That
So
left you-
that would come out of the 40
Yeah.
for us to pay that. And then the remaining
18,000 some odd,
17 and
17
change.
change.
Right,
Is that going to be a down payment on your new truck?
That
which
would go
bring it
towards
down
the
to
down payment.
40,000, but we'll bring it down to about 43,000 now.
Correct. Well, it brings it down to, it basically, if you take a look at under those options, what it ends up doing is, we initially had said that we were going to only lease or utilize $40,000 to lease for the lease purchase part of that truck. It's a $65,000, $65,325. It was the purchase price on the new water department truck. So initially, we were going to utilize the $8,061.50 out of the lease payment in the water department's line item budget category. But because of this new wrinkle here, that would, if we paid that and the lease payment, it would put us over budget on that line item. So quite know where we should, basically looking for the board's direction as to how they would like to take that.
What about line item 948? Waterworks vehicle and equipment reserve expense. There's $26,854 in there. And you know, touch a revenue account. Money's already been set aside. You're only going to take another $8,000 out of that, right? That's what you're looking to do.
That's correct. And initially, when
61.
Courtney and I had talked about it, we had talked about if you were going to pay for the truck and not be leasing it. That was one of the options. I think if you recall, we talked
Yeah.
about kicking that around, and then the idea was to kind of hold back on that and keep the monies in that reserve as much as you could. And that's the reason why we were gonna pay that 8,000 out of the payment line item versus out of the reserve. So, but with this wrinkle here, I think that either you pay more for that truck, in other words, the Parks and Rec, which is under the, let me get this right here, it's under the grounds and maintenance truck and equipment CRF. You either hit that fund with the additional $8,000 and say, well,
Should be.
Going to say that truck's worth a little bit more and we're going to take it out of there. There's $60,000 or 15 some odd $1,000 in there. Or you take it out of the reserve.
But the truck is worth more. If there's a snafu in it, it should be coming out of the grounds and maintenance. And you can't go buy it one ton for $40,000.
I present the options.
Yes.
First presented this, the idea of going to capital reserve fund was trying to, things have changed, the excavator rate's higher. The cost of an excavator by day for us to not have one. I mean, we're looking at 2,800 hours on that excavator. That's easily 100 and or hiring someone else to do that.
Courtney, can you pick your microphone up?
Yes, if that excavator is getting tired, then we should have sent it in and had the motor freshened.
It's more than motor stuff. It's the wear and tear parts. It's not the motor itself. The motor itself is fine.
Repin them.
It's been repinned last summer, every pin.
Chairman,
Yeah,
if I
Again.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. Can we get the truck done first? And if we're gonna do the excavator, let's go back to that, but let's do the truck and get that resolved.
Yeah, I was just stating the fact that we have just $28,000 in that capital reserve fund. And when we met last time, we weren't going to touch that. So plans, with my budget being due on August 13th, I'm planning ahead. And their excavator is way too big for what I need to do. So if we do run into a scenario where we have to rent or purchase a new excavator, that money could be well used for that. So.
Do you like Kelly?
She can. She can. I just think that 40,000 is cheap for a one ton for one. If there's a snafu, then it should come out. Then you charge more money for that truck going out. Hi, Cal.
Hello. I'm supportive of whatever is best for the team, however it needs to be paid for. We don't have a driver for that truck. We are down a staff person, but our cemetery sexton would be able to use it very efficiently to collect mower clippings. It would save us a lot of time over at the cemetery department until we get our driver.
Scott, are you committed to sign a contract with them?
No, we haven't turned the paper all
This
the
is
way.
just a food for thought for you. No use for it. We use them, we used to use them for municipal, for our cruisers, fleets. We now use municipal, and they have an end year pay, which will give you one whole year. But if you change this around and sign the contract for the whole leasing, for the whole amount of purchase of the truck, you'll have till the end of the year to make one payment, and then you drop the full $17,000-18,000 on it. Have to come up with money out of any other line. Capital reserve. To make that out. There we go.
Yeah, I got prices from capital leasing for the municipal leasing as well. And the only reason why we stuck with the Ford was just because it was just less as far as the actual overall payments going forward. That's the only reason. But the chief's correct. They were willing to structure it just the way we were talking about doing and what had been originally thought that would be done by Ford. Matter of fact, when I gave the award information to Grapponi Ford, it actually said in there that we wouldn't make the first payment until 2022. So when the leasing paperwork came through last week, and I prepared it to bring up to finance and the town administrator, that's when I saw, wait a minute here, it says we have to pay a 2021. So I questioned that. She said, well, that's how Ford is. You have to pay that first payment. They said they could defer it for 60 days or, hold off if in fact it was a funding issue. So, but I mean, the increase in payment is with the capital price, I think, once again, it comes out of the water department budget. It was, let's see here, I do have it here in this mess of papers. Yeah, the capital leasing price it was like a couple $100 more.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
one way or another, whether 8,000 comes out of the revolving fund or it comes out of the capital reserve fund, it's got to be done. The deal's already been done. You can't go back to the town from the water department and say, you got to give us more money for that truck because we already made an agreement with you. This is for the water, this is for the water department. Water users should pay for it. So the $8,000 should be coming from the water users. So half one does the other. Take it from the revolving enterprise fund account that the water department has, or take it out of capital reserve, one way or the other. You can't see us sitting here for an hour debating where this money should come from. That's my recommendation.
Come out of Parks and Recs. Selling that truck is.
We already sold it to them for a price. Already gave the price, made the motion. It's like going back and reneging. That's like going back and reneging on a deal. When the board made this motion.
But it's also got a snag in their paperwork that they set up. So snagging the paperwork, we're starting over. Board's wishes.
Are you gonna make a motion to that effect?
Yep, I'm just gonna get the paperwork back again. No, I got it.
I mean, we basically kind of tried to put this package all together so it would meet all the needs. And, initially, once again, this is put a wrinkle in because once again, it wasn't a planned process. And when it was agreed upon initially, it wasn't to take it out of the reserve, because that was what that.
But you're also getting a
was.
2021 truck for short money. And my feeling is.
Who's getting a 2021
Or
truck for sure?
2020. What is that, 19 or 20?
The 18, there was an 18 left over.
It's still, you're still looking at a $50,000, $60,000 truck. And if there's an $8,000 difference, then it should come out of where the truck, whoever bought when they bought the truck.
I don't know what that truck would bring for value, to be honest with you, Virgil.
In this market right here, you probably get
50, 60,000.
55.
Right now.
56,000 for it right now.
These
Whether that's
prices.
realistic or not, it's not. It's just the market that's out there right now, but.
So at the last meeting, though, you were unhappy with the $40,000 price. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay, so now, I mean,
But that was before we got a snag in the paperwork that was.
right, but Mr. Wentworth was unhappy with the 40,000 price.
I was unhappy that we're doing the deal. It had nothing to do with the price. It had to do with the
It was
deal.
confusing
I
as
was
it
totally
was.
against the deal. And the only reason I voted for a diesel truck for your department, because they made the majority said, give her the truck. That left you without a truck, so I kind of had to vote for it.
Right.
Otherwise, if I had the majority say kill the deal, I wouldn't have, I would have gone and killed the deal. I don't agree with this, still don't, but it's in a done deal. It's kind of late now to change the wheel and go backwards, so we got to move forward. And all I'm saying is give them the $8,061, let them get their truck, but it needs to come out of the water department. One way or another,
It's
out of
unfortunate this
the
happened. It's
enterprise fund
confusing
or
enough to begin
the
with.
reserve fund. Disagree.
It's fine by me.
Now I'm starting to get a little nothing for nothing and take you out of here. Have you guys seen what this water department is doing? And you don't want to have a truck that they can,
I didn't say I didn't want to have them have the truck. They had a truck. What I was against was the deal going to the Parks and Rec Department. That was my whole deal. I'm not against the truck now, because she needs a truck because we made a deal with Parks and Rec. All I'm saying is take the $8,000 out.
We approved the deal and now it has a snag. We have to go forward and
Right.
correct it.
Have to
That's
make
it.
it work.
Give them $8,000. Let's go move forward.
Let's move forward.
It's fine.
Wait
Take
on the
it out of the
motion.
capital reserve.
We have to move forward and correct it.
That's fine by me. I have to go backfill the water main. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to have the water, public town administrator remove $8,061.50 for the purchase of the new truck for the water department to come out of the equipment reserve account.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
No discussion first, one last thing.
All right,
This will take
discussion.
care of the deal, correct? This will
Yeah,
put
I mean,
put it to bed.
Well, the finance office needs to know where the money's
Okay.
being allocated to, and since in the initial motion that was done, it
Right.
only spoke to 40,000 and 40,000 and the overall purchase price for the water department truck. And it was, once again, the plan financing for it was that we were gonna use that payment.
Okay.
So,
So all you need though is the $8,061.50.
if it would, I mean, to be honest, I mean, once again, I don't have, I mean, I have a card in this deal. Only for the mere fact is I'm just trying to facilitate what is gonna work the best for, what I feel is what's gonna work the best for the departments. And that was how I had to try to broker this, because as you can remember, this has been a drawn out process for months here in order to get,
It was
replace a
confusing.
truck that was scheduled to be replaced in the grounds and maintenance division. And I mean, if once again, I'm not sitting where you're sitting. So if I was sitting where you were sitting, I would pull it out of a reserve fund, thinking about where are we gonna end up having to spend our money in the future? And whether or not you feel it's more appropriate to come out of, Mr. Wentworth feels to come out of the water department. And, McDonald's feels like it should come out of the Parks and Rec, the grounds and maintenance
Grounds maintenance, yeah.
fund there. That fund happens to have extra money in it. Is there thinking of down the road as to what the next capital items are that will need to come out of that fund? I don't have my list right here with me, but I think that's something to take into consideration when you end up having the water superintendent tell you that potentially she's going to end up needing to have replace her excavator at some point in time, which isn't an excavator that just gets used just exclusively by the water department, because in kind, we actually utilize that quite frequently at the highway department. So that's something to take into account when I would think in making that decision. Once again, you folks have to live with that.
The only reason I say take out of the water reserve, it is for the water department, whether we take it out of the checking account or we take it out of the capital reserve. We take it out of the capital reserve, we got a better track of where that money's going, what has gone in for equipment. We keep just going into that checkbook all the time, just pulling money out. It just comes out and that actually overexpends that bottom line. Lisa, we take it out of the fund account for the equipment. We did not overdraw the bottom line of her budget. That's my main reason. Too many times since I'm going to say it myself, I'm the one that found that money. So I'm very protective of that money. That money was sitting in the town coffers for years that the water commissioners never even knew existed. Found it, but it just seems that it's just as easy to go in there and take money out of that. That money wasn't for that. That was to put away for emergencies, such maybe now as there is, or an excavator coming up. So at the end of the year, we can put more money back in that reserve fund for an excavator next year or leasing one. So depending on what size they get. But I just feel for business practices, it should be coming out of the reserve funds, not just out of the checkbook.
Yeah, and I would just ask that the board, take into light as to what Mr. Wentworth said, is that when it comes time here to understand that, Courtney brought up a very valid point,
Yeah.
that needs to be certainly looked at. I
Duly
mean,
noted.
it's an unfortunate situation that now we have this financing issue that all of a sudden at the 11th hour, gets brought on the table to us. And I can share the correspondence with you that wasn't the intent, wasn't for us to have
It's
that
unfortunate.
shortfall in that situation there. And, understanding that we're going to take $8,000 out of that reserve fund. I'm not that familiar with the Waterworks, different funds as to how that works, or a checkbook or any of that kind of stuff. That, the board give consideration as to replenishment, of that reserve fund, understanding that that is a potential future purchase. It's going to be on the horizon here for the water department.
Okay, end of discussion.
I have a question, just for clarification purposes for the motion for my notes. It's the Waterworks Vehicle and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, Expense Capital Reserve Fund.
948
Yes,
has $26,854 in it.
yeah, okay, thank you.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Who seconded that?
I'll second it. No one did. I'll second.
Bob?
Yes, sir.
One no. Hey. Okay,
All right. Goodness gracious. So
Kelly, you'll look good.
thank you both very much.
Thank
So
you.
the next thing I have has to do with the non-public session minutes that are at your seats, which have not been released. But I'm asking permission from the board to allow me to release them to the Public Works Director so that he can come up to snuff on the Blueberry Lane project that he has been dealing with. I would need a motion on that.
Chairman. Make a motion to release the non-public session minutes of September 17, 2018. And August 6, 2018. And August 20th, 2018.
Yeah.
I'll second that. Discussion? We put in yam or anything? Yam fund or anything?
No, we're not to that point yet.
Good. No discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
Thank you.
That's it? Okay. Approval of minutes.
Chairman, make a motion to approve June 21st, 2021 minutes. Regular session.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. Chairman, I make a motion to not to divulge item 1 and 2 of June 21st, 2021 non-public session. And approval.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
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 June 28th.
Chairman, make a motion to approve the June 28th, 2021 minutes.
I'll second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
All abstains.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend that we approve the June 28th, 2021 non-public session and divulging 1 and 2. I don't see any reason to divulge, not to divulge number 1. Well, no, I'm asking town administrator now at this point.
Yeah.
I think perhaps in a year,
Okay,
it could be released.
but number 2 should be able to be released.
Yes.
Yeah.
One stain.
So, Mr. Chairman, I remake my motion to approve the June 28th, 2021 non-public session, not divulging number 1, but divulging number 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. We have consent agenda approval.
Chairman, make a motion to approve the consent agenda, June 19, 2021. Number 1, Parks and Rec Department, and number 2, Parks and Rec Commission.
Anybody like, would you like me to read it? So they know what it is, or?
It's public knowledge. They can go in the administration office and do it.
It's normally not read.
I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Don't forget, you have a discretionary appointment, the Ruth Arsenal one that was in the beginning. That was supposed to.
I thought that was already done because it was in the beginning. We have a discretionary appointment to give Mrs. Arsenal from Jewett Farm Road 5 minutes for a welcome out and sign.
My recommendation is to approve that with the
Yes.
5-minute time limit.
Yeah, 5 minutes, yes.
That's approved. Or consensus is. Now we go to public input.
You love
Good
seeing my
afternoon,
face.
sir.
It's like being back here again. Talking just a quick thing about the thing in the bay and the sidewalks. We're gonna do it. Let's do it right.
Mhm.
All the granite curbing's gotta come up. It's the only reason it's sinking. Because it's tipping out. That ADA hazard came up more than 5 years ago. We approached the board back then and asked for extra people for the repointing of the wall, the cap on the wall, the sidewalk. Those directions could have been done by, at that time, could have been the highway agent or the Parks and Rec director on how to do it. Use laborers to do all that work, and we'd be pulling a highway crew away from maintenance projects that this board had a serious issue with. Because of all the extra projects the town was doing. And now you're attempting to do it again. So I happen to agree with the Public Works Director. You're gonna pull them away from their maintenance work in order to create something different, which they already in building a salt shed to save the town money. Just a thought. Don't come back and complain that maintenance isn't being done.
Doesn't have to be
Because
done
of
all at
that.
once.
That's right. That was a big issue. Because we were doing all the extra projects. And I think Virgil will back me on this, the thing in the bay about the concrete. I think that's a muriatic acid thing, and I don't know if you can use it that close to the water. And I think somebody ought to request from Mr. Cass a survey of 28A, because if you're gonna hire an engineer to do something, the first thing he's gonna ask for is a survey. So maybe they do have a survey already done, especially if the town's gonna be paying an engineer for his opinion on everything that's there. Survey would have to be requested. Thanks.
Thank you.
Warren Cobb. I didn't quite understand where the DOT people got involved in this row 28A. He said some people complained. Is that the whole thing why they came in here tonight?
Yep, quite a few people that have been getting a lot of letters from the people.
What, like 3 or 4? Or I mean,
Okay, just moved here.
strange.
Traffic goes
It's just
fast.
kind of strange. It was 3-year fight about the rumble strips.
Well, that's
And
why-
it seemed like we had a whole auditorium full of people and that was kind of ignored. Okay.
3 people
Um,
don't.
Strange. The Conservation Committee. I know they came in about 2 months ago, I'm guessing. And Virgil, you had an issue about they wanted to buy, get property. But it didn't have the timber rights. How was that finally settled? Because they're a subgroup that you people appoint. So how is that, are they still buying properties with that money? They don't have timber rights too?
That property was taken with taxes.
Okay,
Instead of us auctioning it off because it's on our watershed on the river,
yeah.
we decided to let them take that over as conservation land because it's right on the edge of the river. Over on Beaver Brook.
Is that the one that we're talking about the timber rights? So,
Yes, that's the timber rights.
okay, so is it the board's opinion that the Conservation Committee should be going after property and not have the timber rights to those properties?
No.
Is that the board's opinion or just yours? Has it been discussed?
Well, I don't think anytime the town, or whether it's conservation, town of Alton owns property, we should own the timber rights to those properties that we own.
Okay, so, but they came in here and I thought that they came in here and wanted to get this without the timber rights, that piece of property.
that
That
was-
night was a discussion about that.
But I was trying to find out why when we took the land, that we didn't get timber rights with it.
Yes,
That was on the
And it
tax
was
deeded
already
property. That's
signed
what the question was. Why didn't we have those timber rights?
yes. So has that been settled now that the Conservation Committee knows that that is your wishes because they serve you people?
Yes.
So if I may speak,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, so the Conservation Commission is well aware of what the selectmen's wishes are, and legal counsel is involved, and the gentleman who has the timber rights has refused to release them to the town, but has agreed to offer the town a right of first refusal, which you had mentioned that evening as well, Virgil. So that is being worked on right now by the town attorney and the Conservation Commission.
I'm not so much interested in that specific property because this came up when I was on the board. That they would be able to buy a piece of, a right to a piece of property, and then this piece could be developed that had wetlands on it. So this isn't the first time, and not specifically this lot. I think the Conservation Committee should not own part of it and not have that ability for someone to swap wetlands here for another piece over here that goes into conservation.
absolutely.
So I don't know if that's been brought up to the board or these people have discussed it, but it's not right for somebody to say, oh, I'm gonna put in conservation, and then they come in there and clear cut it 10 years later and
Right.
just devastate it. So, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep. Seeing no more public comment. I will take a motion to adjourn because I'm gonna put off my non-pub.
So there is no non-public.
No.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman, at 8:30.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I didn't understand what you were saying. I was confused in that comments, the truck. I was.